This job, it wasn't a big job. It wasn't a crazy job. It was replace the bumper, replace the fender, replace the headlight, blend the door, blend the hood. Easy. It's a gravy job, as some people would say.
Right.
The thing with it, this was, I guess I'll say Geico. It was a Geico claim. Not to
Yes.
say anything bad about Geico, but it's a Geico claim. So let's
Hmm.
just be honest. So we know our P pages. We charge for our labor. We charge for our materials.
Hmm.
We're very thorough. We read through the OEM manufacturer repair procedures. We're very thorough, and we document it on our itemized invoice. We call it an invoice. We don't call it an estimate.
I think one thing to note is they understand what's going on. The insurance company, at least guys with boots on the ground and gals, they understand that there's a disconnect. As most of you guys know, and sometimes we need to be reminded of, is that it's not the insurance company's job to fix the vehicle. The insurance company is in the business of making money. So it puts them at a very different place in the process than it puts you and I as the people that fix the vehicles and get them out safely and do the repair properly. Now, should they still be doing that? They should, you would wish, but ultimately they have policies set up in place and they have parameters within those policies set in place so that they mitigate their loss as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, for them, it's all about that money. But the problem is, at the end of the day, the responsibility falls upon us as shops. And we've seen the court cases to prove it, that at the end of the day, ultimately, it's a shop's responsibility. So what do? Well, we have to fight to get what we think is fair and real so that we can still repair the vehicle properly and not lose our ass, right? So when I was talking with these guys, and they're aware of the struggle and it's difficult for them. And one gentleman in particular used to work for a body shop. So he totally got it. And we were kind of laughing about it. And he said, the shoe was on one foot, now it's on the other foot. And I used to be the person that was super defensive. I used to be the one that was angry. And now going and working for an insurance company has really opened my eyes to now this side of the coin. And one thing that was prevalent with each person that I spoke with from a few different insurance companies, and I won't name the names because I promise not to say names or use insurance company names for privacy purposes. But I think in general, these things will hold true. And we know that we're still going to get the a-hole that comes in, that no matter what we do, we can't appease them. They're not going to budge. They're just going to be jerk offs because that's who they are. And there's nothing we can do about that. But my whole look on life is really make the best of what you can control and leave the rest. And we fight, we do what we can, but we cannot change them, but we can do the best that we can. So in talking with them, their biggest thing was when we come to a shop, an insurance and a writer, an estimator, a manager gets defensive, it automatically puts us in a bad position. And I get that. I mean, even in real life, if we get into an argument with a friend or a family member or our spouse or partner, the second emotions get involved, now all of a sudden the brain composition changes and we stop thinking with the rational brain and we start thinking with the emotional brain. The rational brain is going to be logical and the emotional brain is not going to be. But how can you help it sometimes? Because you get so pissed off because you feel like you're trying to get screwed. I get it. I know. I totally get it. So first and foremost, if we as estimators, writers, whatever our role is in the shop, if we can attempt to take a deep breath and try not to get on the defensive, first and foremost, we're going to just do ourselves a favor. Let's try to get through this process with as much peace as we can, because it's going to drive us nuts sometimes. So first and foremost, if we go on the defensive, then now we're putting somebody else feeling like they have to be on the defensive. And then it's just this rotating circle of nightmareness, because now this person's angry and then this person's angry and then it's really just a power struggle. So I think the important thing to think about is, for the most part, we're going to hope that the adjuster, whoever it is that's at your shop, is going to be willing to be rational. Now, if they're not going to be rational, now we've got to go to another step, right? So if they're willing to be rational, and even if they're not, we have to remember something very specific. They all kind of had something similar to say is, and I'm going to paraphrase it because they all said it in their own ways. Your opinion and your expert opinion, or what should be done to the vehicle, in the insurance world is still considered an opinion. So they're coming to the table with their opinion, and we get angry because oftentimes they are not experts. They do not repair the vehicle all the time. How do they know what it takes to repair the vehicle, right? You feel me? But we're frustrated. We're frustrated.
So tell us just a little bit about that car, because for all of you that are wanting to kind of go head to head with insurance companies and say like, hey, give them some pushback. No, this is what it takes. This is the cost. I should get paid this. I get so many questions of like, where do I start? So Walt, share with us a little bit about this specific vehicle.
This job, it wasn't a big job. It wasn't a crazy job. It was replace the bumper, replace the fender, replace the headlight, blend the door, blend the hood. Easy. It's a gravy job, as some people would say.
Right.
The thing with it, this was, I guess I'll say Geico. It was a Geico claim. Not
Yes.
to say anything bad about Geico, but it's a Geico claim. So let's just be honest. So we know our P pages. We charge for our labor. We charge for our materials. We're very thorough. We read through the OEM manufacturer repair procedures. We're very thorough, and we document it on our itemized invoice. We call it an invoice. We don't call it an estimate.
Nice.
Because an estimate is an insurance company writes an estimate.
Right.
We prepare an invoice for the cost of repair.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. So as most insurance companies do, they go, hey, what's wrong? We don't pay for this. We don't pay for that. Why are you charging this? What? I've never even heard about that. Da, 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 da. Oh, the customer's like, well, what do we do, man? There's like, you're charging this. They're only paying for this. What do we do? I'm like, well, look, let's just have a conversation around the car. The car's done. Well, let's all schedule a time for all of us to talk about it. So
well, first of all, how often does that happen that you can get everybody all together?
Well, I mean, when the customer is creating enough of a stink to make it happen, it's going to happen. It was his policy too. It's a first party claim.
Okay.
So that helps the insurance company want to come out and take care of business because it's their own policy holder.
Right.
You know? But so it was me, the vehicle owner, the adjuster, and the adjuster's boss.
Okay.
All standing around this vehicle. And I have all my paperwork out for all the things that they didn't want to pay for.
Right.
I had documents from a paint manufacturer. I had excerpts from the P pages. We write in CCC. So I had a lot of CCC documents with a lot of highlighted fields. And it was basically a conversation of, here's what we're charging. Here's what you guys have paid out. And I can't really tell you what you guys aren't wanting to pay for. When the customer asks me what are they not paying for, I don't have that answer because it's not my decision what they're not wanting to pay for.
Right.
Because I think a lot of the times the insurance companies will just not pay for something and expect the shop to either eat it or explain to the customer why it's not being paid. But I have no idea why they're not paying it.
Right.
So in essence, let's have this little show and tell session right here. Tell me what you're not wanting to pay for, and I can tell you why it's needed. Here's documents to prove it.
Right.
Like clean and detail vehicle. I mean, they just, man, all those insurance companies, they freak out when they see that. So what I did on this job, I left the car dirty. We put the car together. We sanded them, buffed, and did all the nasty stuff.
Right.
And it's just like the hood, the fender, the bumper, and the door. They look great, but the rest of the car is just trash.
Right.
It's got repair debris all over it.
Right.
And the guy's like, well, clean and detail. We don't pay for that. I'm like, look at the car. He's like, well, you hadn't cleaned it? I'm like, no, I wanted you to see that it was dirty.
Right. And this is why we need to clean it.
Yeah. And then I showed him the P page in CCC where it says in the labor premise of all the non-included, just the general non-included labor in CCC, detail vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even CCC addresses that it's not included in any of the labor. You'll hear a lot of insurance companies say, "Well, that's included in the labor times. That's included in the labor times." No, well, that's not in CCC at least.
Right. Right.
So you show them a dirty vehicle, you show them where CCC says it's not included. I mean, how do you argue against that in front of the customer?
Right. Right.
That's the key. That's the key. An insurance guy is not going to lie in front of the customer. Not to say that all insurance adjusters and representatives lie, but that's not an easy battle for them to win.
Right.
When I have proof that something needs to be done, and I have proof of the breakdown of my charges that makes sense to everybody, how can they argue against that?
Right. Well, I think one of the big issues, though, is most of the conversations go on either through email or on the phone. So you don't even get to see the person. They don't even ever actually lay hands on the car, let alone get like a 3-way, 4-way conversation with the car there.
Right.
Are you still able to get the same results, even having to talk about things via email and phone calls?
Yeah, for sure. It does make it more challenging, but at the same time, email is almost the best way to go because you have a paper trail. You don't have he said, she said.
Right.
You can copy the customer into your email.
The insurance company is like Clay likes to call it. It's like a bank. It's a financial institution. You pour money into it, and then when the day comes where you need it, they're supposed to give you some money back.
Right.
And of course, insurance companies. I have a lot of insurance. You have a lot of insurance. Everybody needs insurance. I mean, all it is a safeguard in case you ever get in the situation where you need it. So you're gambling. You're gambling and you need it. The insurance company's gambling. You never need it. The problem here is that when the insurance company loses the bet, they try to hedge on it. Okay, and they try to short pay. Now, you had mentioned about we're getting paid now. Yeah, you're right. Out of the gate, they're writing for R&I door handles, R&I belt moldings, all the things that, R&I vapor barrier inside the door, all the things that they said I was absolutely bazonkers for listing. Those are common day things that are given freely on the initial underpayment by the insurance company.
Right.
What's not being paid for is proper allowance for pre-scan, post-scan, those kind of things. I mean, some carriers are saying, no, we're not going to pay for that because, it may be recommended, but it's not mandated.
Right.
Well, that's ludicrous, and you have to understand just how ludicrous that is for anybody to accept that and accept their liability for not doing a proper repair or not doing proper calibrations or anything of that nature. That's ridiculous. And they're doing their customers and their community members a disservice.
Yeah.
Okay. So our philosophy is doing the right thing in the right way for the right reasons. Okay. And basically what that means is serve your consumer, and if the insurance company balks, okay. It's sort of like, to simplify it, it's like being in a restaurant and saying, okay, you want 2 eggs. How would you like those cooked? And then the customer lets you know what they want. And then hopefully you can service them and earn their business and have them back. But we need to do it quickly so I can turn this table because that's how I make my business. That's how I make a profit. So when you have a customer there or you have a third party step in and say, well, wait a minute, I'm not sure they're going to get 2 eggs. Okay, well, let me know when you figure this out. But in the interim, I need this table.
Right.
So in a body shop setting, how do we make money? We make money by investing our money into parts, labor, and materials and getting the car over the curb and getting paid.
Yeah.
Our payday is when the job is done generally.
Right.
So how do we do that? How do we expedite that? Because that's the more we turn, the more tables that turns, the more money that restaurant makes.
Right.
So the more cars we get over the curb safely, and properly repaired, the more money we're going to make because we can bring new cars, new wrecks into those spots and generate an income. So one of the tactics that insurance companies love to do is put the brakes on the job and stall it.
Right.
Because shops don't know how to react to that. They're like, well, I'm trying to keep the customer happy and I want to make the insurance company happy. What am I going to do here? Well, what you're probably going to end up doing is a whole lot of stuff for free or a whole lot of stuff for an underpayment. Right. Or, and as I say, there's a lot of honest and ethical shop owners out there today who are doing dishonest and unethical things in the name of survival.
Mm.
And I my heart hurts for them. But again, there's no good reason to do the wrong thing. So what they're doing is they're torn between doing the right thing,
Yeah.
doing a free thing, or not doing something or doing it poorly in order to pay the light bill.
Right.
So if my guys, my customers, my clients, my coaching clients don't deal with that. And what I tell them early on in our relationship is you're going to find out that this process is so easy. You're going to wonder why you ever needed me. And it's true. Clay just told me that a year ago. He says, I woke up this morning and wonder why I even ever needed you. But he wants to stay with me. So he's renewed since then. So it works. The system works if you work the system, like everything else. But the bottom line here is, and this is going to be hard for your listeners, watchers to understand, is you don't give the insurance company all the credibility and attention that they think they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
You provide that attention and service to your true customer, the vehicle owner.
Right.
The community member who, my dad, I remember him working, and I'd say, Dad, why do you try to make everything so perfect? And of course, we're a small town. He says, if we're ever at the movies or at the store and I see one of my customers, I don't want to have to feel like I got to dodge him.
Yeah.
I want to look him straight in the eye, stick my hand out and say, hey, how are you and your car doing? Knowing that I did my very best. And that kind of always stuck with me. And that's kind of the way I've always conducted business. Mm-hmm. It's the way I treat my clients, my shop clients. It's the way I treat consumers, give them the very best that I have to offer. And I encourage my shop clients to do the same.
Yeah. So what do you feel like is the most kind of like frightening thing, or something that you feel like shop owners are like, that hadn't thought about when you do these presentations or speak?
It's honestly always changing. I'll give you like a real current scenario is just building values. We look at I see, insurance policies all the time from shop owners. And we don't evaluate, or shop owners haven't evaluated building values within the last couple of years. Well, building values are up about 20% in the last 18 months. So people are just like shocked at what a building is worth now. If you have a $2 million building that's been at $2 million for 2 or 3 years, that building is worth $2.6 million now. So you really need to be increasing your insurance coverage, because if you're not, and there's a total loss that happens, it's not going to get rebuilt. And if you have like a co-insurance clause on your insurance, you could pay a penalty for having it underinsured. So not only is it not going to get it rebuilt all the way, you're going to pay a penalty on top of it. So that's probably the most like current event, but there's a lot of them. Just trying to make sure, looking through policies and things and making sure people are covered and not having gaps in their insurance.
So is one of the things you do to look over? So if somebody's concerned about their policy, they could call, I don't know, would it be you to have somebody kind of review that to make sure that they're where they need to be?
Yeah, they call or email me directly. But either someone on my team, myself or my team would review that policy. So a lot of times when people send us their insurance policy, we kind of use like an Excel spreadsheet and do a comparison. Hey, here's what's on your policy. Here's what's on ours. Here's kind of where we'd recommend you go. Here's a gap you have in coverage. If you're over covered, that doesn't happen too often, but we'll point out if you probably don't need this. But that doesn't happen too commonly. It's more so trying to make sure there's no gaps or anything. What's happened over time is, particularly right now, insurance costs are going up with inflation. Everything's going up right now. So what agents and other people have done to try to keep costs down is to cut out coverages, right? So, but no one ever notices that until you have a claim, and then you're like, well, why wasn't that covered? And it's like, in order to keep costs down, we kind of cut out these coverages and kind of gave you a bare bones policy. So that's stuff that we point out. At least at minimum, make someone aware that something is or is not covered on their policy.
Yeah. And oftentimes those things aren't really, it cuts it down, but they don't really cost that much more to have them in. And then when you need it, you're so glad you have it.
Yep. You're exactly right. Because the things that make up the bulk of the price are things that you're going to have covered. Like you can't get rid of your workers' compensation insurance.
Right.
You can't not cover the building. You can't not insure the vehicles. Those are the expensive pieces of it. So those add-ins aren't generally that expensive. But still, everybody looks for a way to cut a little bit of cost. So inevitably, those things get nixed. And then if you end up in a situation where you need it, that's where you run into an issue.
Yeah, it's funny. This is off topic, but on topic at the same time. I had a home warranty claim or a home, not warranty, a home claim. And I had a massive flood in my downstairs, and I had AAA for my home insurance. And it was an absolute nightmare dealing with this home claim that I had. And they were trying to, it was funny because I'm like, this is so much like the collision industry. They were like, no, we're only going to pay this. And it was like, that's not even close to what it's going to take to fix this thing. And then probably about 6 months later, still battling with them at this point. And I saw like on a mom's group on Facebook, somebody said, well, what's a good homeowner's policy? We're looking to get a new homeowner's policy. So all these women are weighing in. It's like thousands of women on this board. And people were saying, oh, I have so-and-so. It's great. I have so-and-so. It's great. And I wrote in there and I said, for all of you saying you have a great insurance policy, how many times have you needed to use it?
Never.
And they were like, oh, well, we haven't, but we really like our insurance rep or whatever, whoever it was. We really like these people. They're really easy to get a hold of if I have questions, but you've never needed to use it. So it's like, you don't know how good that insurance policy is until you need it. And unfortunately, it's not till you're missing things until you actually need it. And then it's too late.
Yes. Yeah. That's the very unfortunate thing about that. If you've ever looked through insurance policy or even a quote, they're pretty long and there's a lot on them. For a collision shop, I mean, even our quote, it's no different, and we try to keep it simple, but I mean, it's still 18 pages long. The
right.
Policy's 200 pages long.
Right.
So if you're trying to figure out what's covered on there, if you're not fairly experienced with insurance, I mean, it's difficult to see what is or isn't covered on there, or what you should even be aware of, and how coverage works, or how something would apply.
Totally. Yeah. For so many reasons that we don't have long enough for this podcast, I will say that is 100% having somebody that understands the policy, because it's not our job. We're professionals in our field. Right. You guys are the professionals in your field. We rely on you to let us know. Like, thank God for my home claim. At the time, I had an insurance agent that literally loaded me with stuff. But I think that's part of the problem we find with people just trying to penny pinch and just get the lowest costs. And we see that happen in the collision industry all the time. People get these crappy insurance plans because they're just trying to save a buck. And then they can't understand why it doesn't cover anything when it's time for their vehicle to be fixed. Well, because you didn't pay hardly anything for that policy. That's part of it.
Yeah. So, but anyways, and then as far as like collision shop insurance goes, a large part of it is also being with a company or an agent, even if it's not like us at Intrepid, an agent that truly understands collision insurance, because most insurance agents out there don't insure collision shops. If they have a collision shop, that's the one collision shop they insure.
Right.
So we insure over 1,000 garage locations nationwide.
Nice.
And a ton of conferences like this. We're involved in all kinds of industry events. Obviously, we get out here to meet people, but it also helps us stay informed. Hey, what's going on in the industry? What's coming? How can we make sure we're adapting and changing our policy and our procedures to make sure that we're best covering collision shops?